What's up guys, Houndish here, and today I'm going to jump in and talk about some Destiny 2 stuff. So first up, we've got what is going to be probably the rarest exotic catalyst to actually pick up. I'll talk about that more in a moment. There is a hidden sleeper node that's going to be attached to a quest. I'll also speak about that. We're going to take a look at some of the seasonal rewards for the Iron Banner, talk about the Escalation protocol, and a couple of other things, so let's jump straight into it. First up, yesterday in a video I mentioned that players had been hunting down the Worldline exotic catalyst. Of course, the Worldline is the new exotic sword, and initially it'll show on the catalyst tab 3 question marks, and so players were trying to figure out exactly what this means. And of course, to get that first bit done, you do simply need to make kills on enemies with a sword. It can be the exotic sword, it can be a different legendary sword. Any type of kills, it's a completely random drop. Once you've got it though, there is actually more progress that you need to unlock on the sword, and this of course is where people were actually stuck. But yesterday a user on Reddit posted that they'd actually got 20% progress on the sword, and they did this by actually using the heavy attack with Tesseract on this week's Escalation protocol boss. So you actually have to hit the boss when the shield is down. Of course, you use the Crota swords that spawn in to take the shield off. And then if you hit the boss with the Tesseract sword, as long as you've actually found the catalyst, you will get 20% progress. On top of this though, there is a few items in the database. There are actually 5 of them. And each time you Tesseract a boss, presumably, you're going to get one of these items. So we have a clip here from Cobb Blooddrunk, who actually showed them getting a sword slam with Tesseract. And we can see that they get the Worldline Idesthesia Anarchia. And that is as much progress as anyone can currently make, so it's capped out at 20%, but with the other items being in the database, it looks like you will get 20% from each of the bosses that you hit with Tesseract with this sword. And obviously that's going to make this one of the rarest exotic catalysts in the game. Not rare simply because of RNG, but more because you have to do such a high level endgame activity and then use a sword to actually hit each boss, which of course is not going to be the optimal DPS. But in terms of the upgrade that you actually get for the sword, it will get a perk called End of the Dimension, which reduces the activation time of Tesseract. So I would guess that this means you don't have to sprint or move as far in order for Tesseract to actually activate, basically meaning you'll be able to use Tesseract much more regularly. Honestly, I don't feel like that is the most exciting perk to actually get. It's not necessarily a bad perk, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough. I'd really like to see bonus damage or definitely some kind of ammo improvement on the weapon if that was even possible. Of course, we'll have to wait and see, it may have some crazy interesting use. I just think it's a lot of work for this weapon. So what do you think, guys? 20% for each of the Escalation protocol bosses. Of course, there are 5. This also goes in line with some of the other time-gated stuff. Of course, you have Ness and Dawn happening over 5 weeks. The armor from Escalation protocol kind of works in a similar way. You get 1 item per week, so it's going to take 5 weeks. But you have to let me know what you guys think about this rare exotic catalyst. Do you think that's actually worth going after? Are any of you guys going to try it? In terms of other rare catalysts, of course, not all of them are actually available in the game right now, but I would say the other rarer ones would be potentially things like the HUCKLEBERRY, where it drops from heroism in the most challenging adventures. Of course, you have to complete heroic adventures, and then it's pure RNG, and this one gives ambitious assassin to the HUCKLEBERRY, which is pretty awesome, as well as the stat boost. There will also be the MIDA multi-tool catalyst, which I don't think is available in the game. Fan through glory, most victorious in the Crucible, so I think this is for the competitive playlist, and it's RNG when you actually win a game. And of course, there are others for Crucible as well. The Vigilance Wing, you've got the Colony and Jade Rabbit. Another potentially rare one would be the SKYBURNER catalyst, found by currying the Emperor's favor, and this drops from encounter completions as well as chests in the raid. And then of course POLARIS Lance, which we haven't actually got yet. This one just reads, found by pursuing the secrets of a newly awakened intelligence. So absolutely no idea how that one's going to be found. I guess it's going to be another mystery, but that will actually upgrade POLARIS Lance to have Dragonfly, which is going to be pretty cool. So that could be potentially difficult as well. The next thing I wanted to mention is that there is supposedly a hidden sleeper node on Mars, and this is one that you can't currently activate according to a number of reports on Reddit. The reason I mention this, of course, is that there are a bunch that you can get from using the resonant stem keys, but it's this one down in Olympus Descent. It's actually off the side of a cliff on a little ledge right here, and when you look at all of the sleeper nodes that people have recorded in guides and things like that, or if you look on the lowly dev map, this one isn't actually on the list. So it is basically a sleeper node that we currently don't have access to, but if you look at the Nascent Dawn quest, we are going to get Nascent Dawn 3 of 5 this coming week, and on the 3rd stage of this, you will have to find a cache in the Olympus Descent. So it looks like this is actually reserved for this quest specifically. I did mention in a video yesterday that I think there could be some smaller rewards along the way for the Nascent Dawn quest, so maybe there could be something hidden in that particular cache. Also, if you look at Nascent Dawn 4 of 5, you do have to complete the mission Fury on Io, and there's also a cache in Rasputin. So like I said, could be some hidden rewards, but it looks like there is that particular sleeper node reserved for this quest. That is, of course, unless any of you guys have found it, but the consensus seemed to be that no one had actually found this one or been to it before. So pretty interesting stuff right there. Of course, we will get that Polaris Lance, and then we're going to have the hunt for that exotic catalyst that I just mentioned. Of course, once again, just to mention, Iron Banner will arrive for the first time in Season 3, and this is going to happen on Tuesday 22nd of May, so this coming reset. Bungie showed us a bunch of the rewards that we'll get. I also made a video about those weapons if you want to check out the perks. I just wanted to point out the new ship there as well. So this is the Esfera Triumph. It's one of the new kind of jet model ship type things, I guess. Pretty cool looking thing. Of course, this time around, we're going to have to hit certain ranks and objectives to actually be able to pick up certain pieces of gear. We should also note as well that it appears the armor ornaments for Season 2 will actually still be available in one form or another because they are in Saladin's inventory. So maybe Bungie will make different ways to progress those or pick them up. Next though, I wanted to briefly mention something about exotic catalyst drop rates. So quite a few people have asked me, is there some kind of bug or is there something that they're doing wrong when it comes to exotic catalysts because they're simply not getting them dropped? Now, the only thing I can really say about this is that firstly, a lot of them are purely RNG. So of course, some of them have specific sources that you can see on the weapons themselves. Others will just drop when you kill enemies. The only rumblings I've heard about there being any potential bug with exotic catalysts were actually over some of the transcript items that you can hold in your consumables. So I don't actually have any in my consumables right here, but there are the memory fragments that you find on Mars, which are kind of like lore pieces. There are some other items that say this item may safely be discarded, and quite a lot of people on the first kind of few days were saying that having these in your inventory can affect catalyst drops. I do not know if that is 100% the case, but it's the one little bit of advice, I guess, that I could suggest for any of you folks who are having issues is to actually try and delete these items. They all say that they can safely be discarded. Again, I can't promise that this is going to help, but a lot of different folks did say that this was a thing in the first couple of days. You know, I saw it on Reddit. I had people talking about it in comment sections and stuff like that, so possibly that could help you with this issue. I did also mention that I wanted to talk about Escalation Protocol briefly. I spoke the other day about ways to get 9 players into a lobby in the Escalation Protocol, and I did actually get a couple of comments where players were kind of disgruntled at the idea of, you know, people donating fire teams and things like that in order for folks to get 9 players into patrol. And it's something I wanted to talk about briefly because I can understand the frustration there around the Escalation Protocol and the way that it's currently set up, both in terms of actually trying to get into the event and complete it, but also the potential negative element, you know, socially on the game where you've got a lot of teams in patrol actually trying to get into these lobbies and potentially being kind of toxic to people, you know, if they won't leave the game or they won't give them their fire team or whatever it is. And I just want to mention that I absolutely 100% agree the current system is not very elegant whatsoever. Some people are saying that Escalation Protocol is simply too hard, and I kind of agree, but I kind of disagree. I really like having a difficult version there. I think the biggest mistake is that there is no entry point to the Escalation Protocol, as I've said before. You don't have a choice of different difficulties to actually tackle, and with the most difficult version, the current version, taking 9 players to actually complete, we don't have a way to elegantly get 9 players into a lobby, which is a big shame in my opinion, because at least then, you know, solo players, different folks would have the option to kind of LFG for it a little bit easier. I find it to be a big shame because it's actually a lot of fun to play at the current difficulty with 9 players. You know, it's totally something you can achieve. It's just actually getting the people into that environment in order to make it happen. So some kind of matchmaking improvement, different versions that players could potentially tackle, one that was good for 3 players at a slightly lower light level that of course didn't have the best rewards but was actually achievable and had some kind of loot table to aspire people to go on to the next difficulty. There's a whole bunch of stuff that I think Bungie should have done with this and could still do with Escalation Protocol to improve it, and I think one of the things that they should be focusing on is making sure that it doesn't create situations where you have people kind of being harassed in patrol, you know, to try and get their fire teams off them and stuff like that. I absolutely don't agree with that, and when I spoke about making 9-player lobbies, I definitely wasn't recommending that anybody tries to bully solo players in the area. That absolutely isn't what I would do. You know, I maybe would ask somebody, you know, could you donate your fire team to me? We have a bunch of people we're trying to get into this activity. If they're not interested, they don't respond, then, you know, I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to hassle them. But of course, course I can't control the way that other people behave, and people are going to do what they're going to do anyway. So I think it's on Bungie, is what I'm really saying, to find the elegant way to tackle this. Difficulty wise, I don't have a problem with the current version. I think there just needs to be better ways for various types of people to get into the activity. So those are my thoughts on that, guys, but let me know your thought on that exotic catalyst or any of the other stuff in this video. Really looking forward to POLARIS Dance and hunting that exotic. But if you've enjoyed this video, guys, a like is very much appreciated below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe to see more Destiny 2 content. For now though, whatever you guys get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.